Welcome back to OG's Danger Show.
Calling back unit on that travel 600 northbound, 600 northbound, current 4 open 9119.
How's it going, gangsters? OG with you out here at the range. Hey, I was gonna come out today and sight in a FightLite-SCR. This is a California legal option to an AR-15. It is compliant in most states in the union and still gets the job done for home defense and self-defense or as a truck gun. Mrs. OG and I are leaving for about a 10-day long road trip. We were scheduled to head over to Switzerland and Austria, and of course, because of this whole thing, our flights have been canceled. Our entry into Austria has been forbidden. Instead, we decided to get in the truck and we're gonna head out, drive out east and see a lot of the country that we've never seen before. We've traveled extensively around the western states, but haven't seen a lot of the middle of America before, so we're gonna head out there and do a road trip. I figured because we're gonna be traveling through a lot of different states, and most of those states are gonna be less restrictive than California, but I figured I'd wanna have a rifle with me. I always travel with a rifle in the truck anytime I'm going on any kind of a road trip, and especially across country. But wanted to have a rifle with me that would be compliant in just about all states. So I didn't even have to worry about whether or not an AR-15 was going to be legal there or not. This FightLite-SCR is California compliant. It's got a solid buttstock. It's got no pistol grip, and it's got a muzzle brake instead of a flash hydrant. Pretty much all it is a Monte Carlo lower that has an AR-15 magazine well here that takes AR-15 magazines. Standard old magazine release, like you're used to on an AR-15. Takes any capacity of magazines, which are pretty much legal everywhere now, even in California. But without that collapsible stock, I'm able to drop on any AR-15 upper receiver. This was an upper receiver that just recently came off of another AR-15 of mine. Mounted on top is a Primary Arms ACSS 1-to-6 power LPVO low power variable optic. This little scope flash red dot system is designed to engage people from anywhere from close quarters distances at 1 power, dial it up to 6 power, and you're supposedly able to reach people out at 800 yards. I don't really have that much use for that. It'd be nice to be able to do it. However, I'm going to sight it in today for 100 yards. I figure that's pretty much serves most of my needs out here. We're going to go over some of the ways that I keep a rifle secured inside a vehicle so that it cannot be grabbed if the window's broken open at the mall, as if malls are open anymore. If I'm running into Hot Topic for a new Taylor Swift t-shirt and someone comes over and smashes the truck window, that they're not going to be able to get this rifle out of my truck very easily. Okay, I'm just going to show you a very quick disassembly here. It's not really designed to be a review of the rifle, just more of an introduction to the rifle, let you know something that's out there. I will not have anything for self-defense or home defense that's not 100% reliable. This thing has been really reliable for me, and I find it very easy to shoot and a nice option. Listen, we've reviewed this rifle before on Top Later Mouse, and the comment section was full of people writing in that, well, just by complying, you're giving in to a tyrannical government. Listen, I get all that stuff, guys. I understand all of that. I understand the bad parts about giving in. Trust me, I have plenty of rifles that are not California compliant. I like having an option here that is California compliant. I have a couple of different options here that I'll show you. It's good to have a California compliant rifle that maybe you take with you into jurisdictions that aren't quite so friendly. I travel up and down this state all the time, and if I'm in a place, even as an off-duty police officer, if I'm in a place like Los Angeles or the Bay Area and I have to use a rifle to defend myself, there's a good chance that I'm in the grease if I use any kind of an AR-15. For this reason, I prefer having something like this rifle that there's nothing they can attack on equipment. We're not giving in, we're not giving up our liberties. It's just a different kind of rifle. I have a lot of guns in my safe, and instead of buying a Mini 14 or something like that that's a completely different platform and takes completely different magazines, I thought I would give this a try because it's another way of owning a rifle in California that is legal, functions just as well as an AR-15, just as efficiently, shoots just as far, just as fast, hits just as hard, and yet there's nothing any politician in this state or any other state could attack on this. I wanted to have this rifle set up for my cross-country trip in case I roll into a state that doesn't allow an AR-15 to be locked into my truck, why not have something like this that I don't have to worry about? And because I found it completely reliable and useful and very easy to defend myself and my vehicle with, I figure I might as well take it with me. And we'll use it along with a couple of pistols to defend the OG truck as we head across country to see you guys. Taking this thing apart, it breaks open just like an AR-15 with the exact same takedown pins. The charging lever comes out the exact same way as an AR-15 does. And from down below, you're going to see this kind of a proprietary bolt system. It's got its own little rat tail, strange little rat tail thing here that's bent on purpose. A standard AR-15 bolt, but a little bit different bolt carrier, a little bit shortened, and everything else inside of there is the same. It's got a standard AR-15 firing pin. It's got a standard AR-15 gas key. It's got a bolt retention pin that is exactly the same, as well as the extractor and the D-ring and all of those other parts. Because for obvious reasons, we don't have a long buffer tube with a long AR-15 buffer and spring able to travel down the stock. Instead, what we've got here is a Monte Carlo style stock that's got a little plunger in it that's on a very, very, very stiff spring. During firing, this little rat tail pushes back on that spring, and the spring pushes the bolt back into place after every shot. It's the same concept as an AR-15, but it's done differently, and with a little bit of attention to detail, I found it to be exactly as reliable as any AR-15 I own. So like putting together any AR-15, your charging handle goes in first, your bolt goes in right on top of it in a nice little channel. It all goes sliding home. However, this little rat tail needs to protrude out the back. Now, here's the tricky part. The only part with the FightLite-SCR that makes it slightly less than perfect is the fact that this little rat tail has to line up on that little plunger and spring when you put this back together. I'll turn this over for you as I put it back together. Hopefully you can see that little rat tail there sticking out. I've got to get it lined up right on this little plunger as I get this thing back together. So what I like to do actually on this rifle is pull out the front takedown pin. Now both pieces are completely separate. It's a little easier this way to, first of all, fold the hammer down and get that little rat tail right there perfectly lined up with that little plunger. And then as it's lined up, everything else just fits right back into place. Snap the two standard old takedown pins back together. Once that upper receiver is snapped onto the lower receiver, you have to function check it using your charging handle to make sure that that rat tail has actually locked up on that pin. As long as that's done, the fact that the upper receiver and the lower receiver are locked together pretty much assures that that little rat tail is going to be pushing down on that spring down here into the pistol grip each and every time. Boy, I've been talking a long time. Let's get to shooting this thing and see if we can print some decent groups out at 100 yards so that we can carry this thing with us out on the road on a cross-country trip. Not sure if you can see it here, folks, but it looks like those rounds at the very top there are probably my sighting in rounds. Not only not a very good group, but certainly nowhere near that hole. I've taken that primary arm scope off and remounted it to a different rifle and then put it back on this rifle since. So we're looking at a completely different setup. It definitely needs to be dialed in. All right, 5 more and we should be in there this time. Aha, no bolt hold open device on the SCR. So once you're done shooting, it clicks just like it's empty. This would all be a lot faster if I had brought a spotting scope with me. Since we got a couple minutes to walk, I wanted to ask you also to keep an eye out for another video that'll accompany this one, all about how to mount that rifle in your truck or in a vehicle. Okay, I am much happier with that. We went from top of the target over his head down to belly button area. All 5 rounds are in there, including one right into the black. All right, gangsters, this is the final group. I shot this at 100 yards. Remember that black dot at the bottom, which was my target, my aiming point, was about the size of a silver dollar. And I shot 5 rounds at it. I don't know if you can tell on this, but 3 rounds are in it and a couple of rounds a little bit wide and a little bit low. But